Hey there folks, welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art, and culture. And today we got a special comment about the Wu-Tang Clan versus Martin Shkreli, aka Pharma Bro, and the sale of Once Upon a Time in Shaolin. In March of 2014, the Wu-Tang Clan, the legendary hip-hop group from New York, made an unexpected announcement. 7 years after the release of their last album in 2007, they were putting together a new compilation record, an exclusive one too. Now, supposedly it wasn't being produced by the RZA, but this was still a double album of new Wu-Tang Clan songs. And what's more, the packaging was ornate, encased in a handcrafted silver and nickel box that would tour around the world through art galleries, museums, and music festivals before being sold to a single individual for an exorbitant price. And we're talking in the millions here, because there was only ever gonna be one copy. Now sure, the rest of the world was still gonna be getting a new Wu-Tang record titled A Better Tomorrow. That'd be released around this time last year to mixed at best reviews. But for hardcore Wu-Tang fans, this was material that they desperately wanted to hear, and yet with the RZA's asking price in the millions, they had nowhere near enough money in order to hear it, even with crowdfunding and effort to get that. Now, there was originally gonna be conditions built into a contract that the album could only be heard at listening parties and not shared or distributed or leaked. But eventually the group relaxed these terms so that the album couldn't be resold commercially. So there was a chance that a lucky buyer might be able to hear this album and then leak this album so that the rest of us could hear it. And yet, that doesn't seem very likely, because only a few days ago it was announced that Once Upon a Time in Shaolin had been sold to Martin Shkreli, a supposedly brilliant pharmaceutical executive who became infamous online for jacking up the price of an anti-parasitic drug named Darafim from $13.50 to well over $750 per pill. I should also add this is a drug that's utilized for treating AIDS victims. Nicknamed Pharma Bro for his obnoxious attitude in pictures and confirming a lot of abhorrent stereotypes surrounding both pharmaceutical executives and hedge fund managers, Martin Shkreli participated in the online auction for the album and got it for around $2 million. Well, under most of the RZA's reported asking prices. And as for the record, Shkreli said he hasn't listened to the album yet. He's saving it for a rainy day, or if Taylor Swift wanted to hear it or something like that, to quote him directly. Now, there is a lot to unpack about the story. Why did the RZA sell the only copy of this record to a pharmaceutical executive known for abhorrent business practices and getting forced out of his own company for abusing his position and misusing assets? Why did he sell it to a guy who seems to be a perfunctory fan of hip-hop at best, who instead of verifying for himself that the record was legitimate, delegated that task to an employee? Why did Martin Shkreli buy it in the first place? And what does this mean for hardcore Wu-Tang fans who wanted one of the last articles of music from one of their favorite groups be given to one of the most hated men on this planet? And furthermore, why in the nine hell should I care, as I've never been on record as being a huge fan of the Wu-Tang Clan? Well, let's start off with the last question, because for the most part, it's somewhat true. Albeit qualified here. Frankly, I think I'd be a much bigger fan of the Wu-Tang Clan if I had more time to go through their massive discography in more detail than I have. I picked up bits and pieces when I've covered Ghostface Killah and inspected Deck with Czarface, but outside of the classic albums, I haven't had as much of a chance to dig into their collected discography of every member of the group as I want to. I also didn't review A Better Tomorrow last year, and I probably was better for it because, as I said, the critical consensus on the album was mixed at best, and having gone back to re-listen to it, yeah, that'd probably be my opinion too. See, here's the thing. For as much as the Wu-Tang Clan justifiably earned themselves mountains of critical acclaim, they weren't exactly a mainstream group with huge singles, and while the group was influential, it was never really garnering the same chart success or popular attention as other more commercial-leaning rappers. And it hasn't exactly helped matters that their newer material, even with verses from the late Old Dirty Bastard, has kind of been haphazard and not exactly good, and also hasn't really sold well. When you consider that A Better Tomorrow debuted at number 29 in the Billboard 200 and commercially has not exactly been all that successful, I can imagine the RZA being a little bit concerned about whether he could even get a few million for the album. And make no mistake, for all intents and purposes, this is about the RZA more than it is about other members of the Wu-Tang Clan, as several of them are quite still active here. Ghostface Killah dropped multiple records this year, Raekwon and Method Man dropped albums with mixed to positive results, Inspector Deck teamed up with 7L and Esoteric for the critically acclaimed Czarface follow-up, which was awesome, and even GZA managed to maintain some hype by rumors about a follow-up to Liquid Swords, his critically acclaimed album. Hell, Ghostface Killah probably had some of the most publicity that he's had in years, thanks to landing on a Billboard list and a well-publicized smackdown on Action Bronson. So the question comes, why would Wu-Tang even care about such a release stunt when they have got their own revenue streams coming in? They don't need this. Now sure, there are Wu-Tang members that could probably definitely use some of the hype and the cash flow, but to me this always seemed like more of the RZA's affair directly, and a lot of it seemed more about the money than it was about the spread of any sort of art. So that raises the question why a successful businessman like the RZA would need the money, until you you realize that he's not produced a single instrumental to be released this year. Instead, he's been working in acting and directing. His first feature film, called The Man with the Iron Fist, released in 2012 to middling reviews and not making back its budget, with the sequel released this year directly to DVD to even worse reception. So to summarize, if the RZA needed capital in a hurry to finance his next creative film project, because unfortunately it doesn't look like he's coming back to music anytime soon, you can understand why he might take a lower price for Once Upon a Time in Shaolin. But now you gotta think about this. Why Shkreli? Why'd the RZA sell it to him? And more importantly, why would he buy it? Well, to get that, you need to have an understanding of Martin Shkreli's character. Now, keep in mind a lot of this is conjecture and hypothesis, but it's based upon knowing guys just like him. I live in downtown Toronto. I've got friends who work in investment banking. I've also studied physics in university. I've encountered my fair share of real-life geniuses. Presuming this guy fits into that category, which he very well might. Keep in mind, this is a guy who skipped grades, and vaults at the very top and with a lot of wealth thanks to the ludicrously overpaid hedge fund industry. And his cash comes through betting on whether shares go up and down and profiting on the margin, so you understand what attracts him to these sort of auctions. In other words, he's coming to a stupid amount of money very young, and from all accounts, it's gone right to his head. And yet, if you remember The Wolf of Wall Street from 2013 and Matthew McConaughey's speech,
it's a fake.
Yeah, fugazi, fugazi, it's a wazi, it's a woozy, it's a fairy dust. It doesn't exist. It's never landed. It is no matter. It's not on the elemental chart. It's not fucking real. Right? All right? All right. Stay with me. Mm-hmm. We don't create shit. We don't build anything. No.
And you know, the scary thing is how many guys I know who sound just like that. Now, note the line, we don't create shit. We don't build anything. So how do you value yourself? What's your legacy? What are you doing it all for? Now, for some cocaine and hookers and decadence, that's enough, at least on the surface. And intelligence doesn't always come with self-awareness here. And for Shkreli, it's come easy. He's smart, he's leveraged his way to the top, but now what? He's got more than enough money to do whatever he wants for the rest of his life, but it's clear he wants more than just cash at this point, and he doesn't quite grasp how to get whatever else he wants. My hypothesis is that this guy might have started by cranking up the margin on dare him, not out of malice, but out of pure profit opportunity, without giving a second thought to the people whose insurance will not cover the increased price and might have ended up dead if it wasn't for a competition undercutting him in spectacular fashion. But note that outside of token gestures towards hospital supply, Martin Shkreli didn't lower that price. In fact, he almost seems to revel in the notoriety now, the attention that he's getting. It feeds into his ego, which is why he didn't seem to take things all that well when he tried to buy an audience with Bernie Sanders, and the senator justifiably didn't give him the time of day. In other words, he tried for that real power that might seem relevant to the politics of my generation and his generation, and it didn't take. So how would you react to that if you were him? Well, the next thing you need to note is that Martin Shkreli does have celebrity memorabilia already. He owns Kurt Cobain's Visa card, and apparently he likes to flash it whenever he picks up a check. He jokes on Twitter about wanting to buy Katy Perry's guitar in order to meet her in person. He's convinced to go to the listening party for this album, not so he could hear it, but to rub shoulders with celebrities. And from his own comments after getting the album, it's not about the music itself. Frankly, outside of the scarcity of this record, I get the impression it's not even about the songs or the performances or any sort of artistic evaluation of the Wu-Tang Clan, but about owning the art and being notorious for buying and owning said art. And make no mistake, in today's day and age, notoriety is his own currency and it buys a surprising amount of people. Ask the Kardashians. Ask Donald Trump. Now, this is the dictionary definition of pretentious, but in a certain way, I'd argue it's even worse than that. Martin Shkreli didn't buy the album to appear cultured or have any interest in hip-hop or the Wu-Tang Clan beyond perfunctory references. No, he got the album because he thinks he can leverage it to draw more attention to himself. In sad fact, this will probably work. Forget the fact that I'm doing a special comment on this guy when it really isn't otherwise deserved and I wouldn't otherwise care. He's inevitably gonna encounter high-end art enthusiasts or other billionaire collectors or other hip-hop artists, and that one of a kind of album operates as a very powerful lure, and the sad thing is that it's probably gonna work. Now, frankly, I'm stunned that another hip-hop artist didn't step in to claim it for himself and overcut this guy. You think that rappers like Drake, who worships the Wu-Tang Clan and wishes that he could rap a 10th as well, or someone like Jay-Z, who would have a vested interest in keeping the album safely ensconced in New York as a part of his legacy, especially given his own art pretensions. Keep in mind, both these guys could afford to bid here. They could have done something. Hell, there's a part of me that's surprised that the RZA sold him the album at all, given the controversy. But if it was a clear at all this is about the money more than anything, it was how cursory any statements from the RZA were surrounding this sale, along with a pledge to give some of the money into charity, although I don't expect much to be given. And either way, none of this solves the larger issue that no Wu-Tang fans will ever get to hear this album. And you'd think that a group of legendary rappers who struggled to get to where they were would have some respect for the populism of everything, but here's the fascinating thing. Apparently, there's some hope that we might get to hear this, because a screenshot leaked on Twitter surrounding the contract and it contained the following lines. night. The buying party also agrees that at any time during the stipulated 88-year period, the seller may legally plan and attempt to execute one heist or caper to steal back Once Upon a Time in Shaolin, which, if successful, will return all ownership rights to the seller. Said heist or caper can only be undertaken by currently active members of the Wu-Tang Clan and/or actor Bill Murray with no legal repercussions. Now, okay, apparently this clause is apparently fake. It was posted from a joke Twitter account. I kind of believe that being fake, but it hasn't stopped Shkreli from responding to these claims, saying that there were other crazy elements in that contract because it's a Wu-Tang contract, and of course that's believable, and that he's not afraid of the Wu-Tang Clan. Even quoting their own lyrics saying that they should watch their necks if they come after him. Forget the feud between Ghostface and Action Bronson after B. Dolan scathing who killed Russell Jones, to which I'm astounded nobody from Wu-Tang's responded to yet. This might be the biggest shot at Wu-Tang in 2015, and it's not even from a rapper. Now, if I was a member of the Wu-Tang Clan like Ghostface or Raekwon or Method Man, I'd be pretty damn insulted that Pharma bro over here pulled this nonsense, even if the RZA okayed it. If you want an easy way to reaffirm your dominance in New York, maybe stealing the record back would be the thing. And here's the thing, it wouldn't even be that difficult. Shkreli's looking for celebrity attention. He's inviting rappers to perform at his events, like his Christmas party where he invited Fetty Wap, because to quote him, you know, at the right price, these guys will basically do anything. If there ever need to be someone to be seen by somebody, this could easily be done. And hell, if Bill Murray wants to show up and provide running commentary or a handy distraction, it would probably work too. So you know what? The die's been cast. And while in reality, I've got no idea if Wu-Tang would actually take action here, and honestly, they probably wouldn't, I get the feeling that we haven't seen the last of Once Upon a Time in Shaolin, if only because Martin Shkreli is too much of an attention whore to keep quiet about him. And let's be honest here, Wu-Tang Clan, they're OGs. They're not gonna let insults to their honor be represented in this way. He doesn't understand the men that he's fucking with. As such, Wu-Tang Clan, your move. I wanna hear that album sometime.